Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz, in which I conduct in-depth and revealing interviews of icons and who I believe are the next generation of icons of the weddings and event industry. This is all to provide education and inspiration for event industry professionals. If you missed last week's episode, it was Andrea Eppolito, who is a wedding planner and event designer out of Las Vegas, who also speaks, consults, and offers a one-of-a-kind service called The Wedding Editorialist, and is soon releasing an education site, so be sure to check that out. So, this week's guest, this is a big one for me. I have been trying to get to Ray Thompson, founder of Images by Lighting, for a while, and we were able to sit down in his office in Los Angeles, and I'll tell you what, Ray is a leader and educator in the industry, and I'm going to say he is absolutely, hands down, a pioneer in lighting design. Ray and his award-winning team of lighting designers provide innovative concepts and designs for events, which you are going to hear all about, from intimate to large, that truly create an environment and a mood for events all over the world. And Ray has to sign NDAs on non-disclosure agreements on most of his events, but I was still able to get enough out of him to make this absolutely fascinating. Ray's work with Images by Lighting has taken them to Dubai, Bora Bora, Europe, as well as all over the United States. And they've done outrageous work for film companies, including New Line Cinemas, MGM Studios, DreamWorks Pictures, and Disney, and for award events such as the Critics' Choice Awards, SAG Awards, HBO, Oscars Governor Ball, Emmys Governor Ball, and the Grammy Awards. He's also done design lighting for musical artists at events such as Elton John and Lady Gaga, and for other just wild and outrageous events like the opening of Palm Island, Dubai. And he's also done the King's weddings in Dubai and Qatar. And of course, obviously, Lux weddings and corporate events and gala fundraisers. So Ray talks about his concept of the choreography of emotion through lighting design and how he incorporates his love and study of chakras and their effect on people's emotional states. And he talks not just about how he uses lighting in venues, but also how he highlights architecture and landscaping. And Ray tells stories in this interview of working with event luminaries like Colin Cowie and David Beam. Again, this is something not to miss. Be sure to check out our follow-on episode on Wednesday that comes out each week, which is called The Next Level, in which my guest co-host and I tease out some of the highlights of the interview and help break them down and deliver specific tactics and tips for you to use to raise your own business to the next level and to grow and thrive. So enjoy my conversation with Ray Thompson. So Ray, I have always been so excited to have you on the show. You don't know this, but I've been wanting to have you on for like a year and a half, and because I do view you as, you know, really a pioneer, one of the true icons in the industry for what you do with lighting design. And I personally have always felt, you know, I'm in music and entertainment. Mm-hmm. And so for that and for anything, lighting to me is absolutely critical. It's an essential part of the whole thing. I know we're going to get into, you know, the emotional aspect and all of that, but I think it's critical to telling a story no matter what you're doing.
Right there with you.
Yeah, I figure.
And over the years, I started many years ago and taught the industry and got out and lectured and went to conventions and showed people what lighting was. I pulled out fixtures and said, this is what you can do with them. This is where events are going. And this is how you can sell it. And this is how I'm charging, and started educating them on how to use lighting.
Yeah, because people back then, you're saying, basically didn't know.
Didn't know. And it was the pin spot. The pin spot was the first thing we showed them.
Technology,
this little light.
Yeah.
You light the flowers.
Right.
And then I had a lot of florists in the audience, and I had event producers, and they're spending all this money on flowers. And they went like, wow, it even looks better. I can charge more.
Incredible. Well, how did this start for you? I mean, was there any aspect of your childhood growing up that, you know, kind of led to who you are today with your passion for lighting and the visual?
When I was a kid, I was always really good with science and math, but I was kind of a nerd. And always built projects. And if you looked at my bedroom growing up, I had lighting installations in my room. My dad owned a vending machine company, and I had access to the warehouse of broken machines. So I could go in and get the micro switches and the motors and the camshafts, and I'd build projects. And I loved it. And I always loved lighting. I could sequence lights to music when in my room, and I didn't know how to make a career out of that or a career choice. So I went into electrical engineering. And so out of high school, I went down to UCF, became an electrical engineer, went into digital communication systems. There was nothing that even looked like a lighting career in there. But I knew that something like that could get me out into a big city where I could discover what it would be.
Wait, so all along you're saying that in your mind you were thinking,
lighting.
I want to do lighting, yet it didn't really exist at that time.
No, in the early 80s when I was graduating from college.
But electrical engineering, why? Just because to be able to do the engine of it? Because
I was really smart with science and math.
Oh, okay. So that was something to major in, you're saying?
Yeah, but all through high school it was science and math. Science and math. I had honors and went to college, and my brother was an electrical engineer, and he and I both did it together. We had a fun time through college. And then out of college, I went on, made an offer to come out to LA with Hughes Aircraft, and I was electrical engineer for them for, like a year and a half out here and at that time, I built up kind of a clientele. Somebody saw some lighting in my apartment at the time, and if I could help her out, and I did lighting at her house, and she started telling her clients. She was a well-known makeup artist in Beverly Hills.
Wait, she just happened to be in your apartment, noticed it, and
yes.
like, I guess it hit her that, wait, this is creating something, because, makeup, visual artist, so.
Right.
So that's how it happened, she said?
Yeah, she was in an acting class with my neighbor who I was friends with, Tim, but they came to my place, and I had beautiful, kind of very cool installation of these giant tubes that I had done in college that I brought all the way out here that shot colored lights through it. And it was kind of light sculptures that I had done for myself. And she loved it. She said, I want you to do something at my place.
Wow.
And then from there it grew, and I did this, and then some of her clients. And anyway, I built up a clientele to where I could leave Hughes Aircraft.
And I'm just thinking at that time, there weren't all these different kinds of, the technology didn't have certain kinds of fixtures and, gobos, all that stuff. So you're making it yourself.
Oh, yeah. And it was not even the theatrical fixtures. It was more like tubes and emanating shades of colors. And that's what really hooked her. But this kind of all led to, doing the right person's place who had a premiere. And it was Allan Carr in the early 80s, who had a premiere, was coming to LA. I had done something at his house to help him with some lighting at the house. He said, can you do some lighting for the party?
For the party.
For the party.
And this
a
had
little
not
party.
really been done very much at the time.
Oh, no.
So even for him, that was forward thinking.
Yes, but he was a producer from film. So he knows the importance of lighting. And so I said, sure. And so in my Jeep, and I go and rent and loaded up my Jeep and a ladder and went, and we ended up doing color and gobos and party lighting. But this introduced me to just the handful of people who were at the top of their game, which was in the time like Along Came Mary, Tom Pierce Productions. This goes way back, where they were just starting to do pin spots on tables or lighting for events.
Well, and back then, even events, it was new that this is a profession and there are professional event people.
Right. And they were barely just starting decorating parties.
Incredible.
Because it went from just tables and chairs from a rental company to we're going to do colored cloths and we're going to actually make props. And so once they started building props and scenery, lighting became just the natural element that was added to it.
Wow. So you really essentially became a part of their creative palette from the beginning that helped.
Right.
It's part of the whole story.
Yeah.
Well, there's a quote that I want to read. I'm not sure. I think it's from your website. I love this. And I know there's so much that can come out of this. So I imagine you said this. Lighting changes your experience, offers color and movement, and creates additional dimension to a space and an event. This dimension brings about more of an emotional response to the environment and creates layers of atmosphere that enhance the surroundings. We specialize in the controlled manipulation of light.
Exactly. And who taught me this early on in my career was Colin Cowie. Because to him, it's a dance. It's the dance from the moment you come into the event to how you feel, what you see, what you smell, how you feel. And throughout the evening, how it builds and what's the next level and what's the next part of this and where it goes. And he sees it as a storyline. It's not just one look. And it's open me up to okay, the experience through color, intensity, and then one of the most important things, I could ever say would be, listen to your clients. story. What is it they're what do they feel about this, how they feel about this throughout the evening? Because we can control that. We can control it with the energy and the movement of the lighting, the color, through color and texture, intensities, and really just kind of weave all the way through to where it culminates typically to a great dance party at the end of the night.
Well, I'm going to want to eventually get some stories from you, but for sure, the ones you can tell. I mean, I know everything's an NDA, but before you get there, talking more about, what you said, changing the experience, color and movement. I also read somewhere something about, you said the whole chakra thing is my personal mission, right? And not something I'm trying to sell the industry, but the wisdom you can take from your own passion, apply it to events. I'm really curious about that. I'm guessing that's the heart of it for you.
It's definitely part of my heart, because I'm very spiritual and I love color and I love, the study of chakra, the study of color on your body, on your being, on your experience. Just early on, like you read about nurseries, how they paint them in blue. Very calm.
Right, light blue.
But then, I have clients that go, I want to do a party in the clouds and it all has to be blue. It's like, I can do that. But just know the experience that your guests will have, it'll be a very calm party. Do you want a calm party? I'll do that for you, but just know that that's what this color will be. And if it is, let me go somewhere later with it. Let me shift out. Maybe we do, party in the clouds and the cocktails, but let's go into when we want to start moving the energy, we should move into the more creative colors, which are more the ambers. Of course, the red is sexual, but it moves up through the ambers and oranges and creativity and vibrant. And so most of my parties you're going to see are in shades of amber because that is a very warm, you look good, you feel good in it, and it's a very creative color.
Interesting. Well, I just want to go back for a moment in terms of chakra, the center of this. Can you define that for me? I mean, I have my own assumptions, but how do you view what that means?
I study chakras. I've got, I've actually got instrumentation in my, for chakra healing and like the specific colors that go to chakras. And just in my studies, I know which ones kind of work best for, the party atmosphere. They don't all work for it because, well, it goes from sex to, from your root chakra all the way to spirit. And somewhere in there, I play in the palette of, the creativity.
Yeah.
When I've lit parties before, all in red, it looks like a whorehouse. Well, that's your root chakra. It's sex.
Yeah.
And that's what gets you going on that. We don't, you don't want to do too much of that.
Wait, so that's why Ed Libby's parties are all red?
Sex.
Not always, but, yeah.
But it gets you going.
Yeah.
I'm more in the orange, orange and heart chakra, which is, the yellows and so forth.
But you must see people respond even though they are not aware of what is moving them.
Yeah.
You're kind of bringing them along and helping to elicit an emotion that supports the story of your client.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not so much the whole broad spectrum of chakras. That is a study of mine. What works best are those, the few areas in there that, support the vibe of the event that my client's looking for. Boy,
it must be so interesting for you when you're, again, forgive me if I'm not using all the right vocabulary, but you're programming, you're doing this long and you're seeing, this is the moment we want to transition and you do see people respond.
Right.
And react.
Yeah. Or I feel them more than anything because on top of everything else, I'm empathic. So I feel people. I feel my clients. I feel them go, even before we start, I get a feeling from them of how they want this to feel. And I'm really pretty good at recreating that through light, color, intensity to get that feeling for them. And so, yes, and then I also feel the guest experience.
So you're at these parties yourself?
Yes.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah, and you're able to, obviously you have built-in flexibility so that you can improvise in a sense at certain moments of the night?
Yeah, and I've got people on control points. So I'm not running the boards.
Yeah.
But I'm floating.
Well, you're like the director.
I am the director. And I'm usually right at the entrance when it begins, when I see my clients come in to get their experience.
So you can feel it as if you're them.
Yes.
And then you move along with them.
And I can adjust things. And it's like, okay, now is a moment. Let's let's shift now. And then it's like, here's a big point here. Like, let's crash this, Colin Conway is such a blast to work on. He has me write the funnest things, and his moments are like when that energy needs a good kick. He has the girls come through with the trays of the tequila.
Right.
He has his moments, and I have my moments.
Right.
It's like, let's shift it. Let's kick it up now.
I mean, it's really literally theater. You're creating theater.
Is totally theater.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's interesting. I just wasn't thinking, as much as I love lighting, and in the music, business, when I'm involved in a production myself, we have certain structure. We never have a set list throughout the night because it's the same thing. I want to read the crowd. I want to feel the crowd. And if I, like, for example, similar, if I see them starting to kind of wane a little bit, of course, we're going to shift the feel of the music.
Right.
And at a certain point of the night, I'm thinking not literally sex, but although I wonder how many babies have been conceived, but through the party. But I am thinking, okay, they've had a certain amount to drink. I see that they're taking off their shoes. People get a little more wild. Let me help facilitate and go into something more, kind of sexy, funky, and, and take it in this kind of these ups and downs, not up and down, but the valleys and the peaks throughout.
And I'm there supporting it by watching it. And as the evening goes, my tables are coming down. The room might take on a more sexier look on the perimeter. The dance floor starts vibing up and moving a little bit more. And the focus goes then from eating a dinner or the dinner party to just the flowers glowing on the table and the energy on the dance floor. And if I can support it with color or something happening around the room, that's awesome. Then it's not just a dance floor experience. It's everywhere, because you still have people sitting at tables. They look at the dance floor, but they're looking at the walls, and the walls are playing with the dance floor. So the whole room starts to become vibey, but it's sexy.
Yeah.
It's pulled down. It's not bright. It's still like flattering and in complementary colors. And
well, and I love that too. Like maybe I can imagine the place they're in the moment, right around them, there's something with color, but in the peripheral vision, and they look around and there's other things going on. It's the whole thing, right?
Yeah. So that it's all the party. It's all in, because when they came in, the walls, they're probably candlelight. There's candles on the table. It looks very natural. But then I always like it to go somewhere. It's going to build throughout the evening. This will dim down.
You'll have moments, right?
This goes from candlelight maybe to an orange or a soft golden amber, and it builds. Then later on, when it gets really sexy, we're in like magentas or like a deep royal blue, and then it's sequencing around, but sexy.
So, when I read about you, there's a phrase, now I'm starting to understand it. You talk about the choreography of emotion.
Yes.
Can you say more? I know we're talking about that here, but if you could directly address that, I love that phrase.
Yeah. But the emotion is throughout the whole experience, because there's an emotion when you come in, just like I said, it's a proper room. So you feel at home, it's comfortable. You're like in somebody's living room or dining room. It's part of the proper ceremonies. If this is we do a lot of weddings, but then, I have the opportunity to build it, to shift focus. So first dance, the room goes down, the lights shift to the dance floor, and it could be just a soft texture pattern on the dance floor. So they look appropriate and sexy and not, so it looks the emotion of, shifting the focus and loving what you're seeing. And then at the end of it, then it like fades back out. And then we have the room. But then, later on when we have like the dance, when it gets into dancing, the emotion of excitement, and just getting it geared up and fired. And then when the music dips down, it resolves. So it's not just going all the time. It builds back again, and we can play back and forth with the play of the music.
Yeah. So there's an emotional arc.
Yeah.
I am in LA after all. I've got to bring up that word. The arc.
Oh, yeah.
So Ray talks about what he terms the choreography of emotion, using lighting design, and what a profound effect it has on the emotional impact of the event, and how it complements and even delivers what the event planner and the event designer and client wish to accomplish. Well, there are two world-class bands that also have the ability to hugely impact events and the emotional impact of them. And that is Sound Connection and Rhythm 6. Again, Sound Connection and Rhythm 6. You can go to the website to learn more about each of these bands and how they do this at theweddingbiz.com/sound connection. That's theweddingbiz.com/sound connection and theweddingbiz.com/rhythm 6, either the numeral or the word. Again, theweddingbiz.com/rhythm 6 to learn more. Can you give me some examples? Obviously not mentioning names or anything like that, but could you, I would love to hear about a wedding, a corporate event, social, something like that. And the process, I would really love to hear the process, if you can talk about that from when you meet a client and take us through that.
Absolutely. And like I said, some of my most successful, my favorite are when I'm involved pretty early on in the design process. So, because some producers will come to me and go, this is all the details and, here's a floor plan. But if I can get in there and actually meet with them and get a sense of what they're trying to accomplish with this, the feel, is it, organic? Is it very, high style, So we do the walkthrough, well, hopefully, to see the location. They'll typically pull out their, creative sheets. This is the direction. These are the colors we're doing. This is the surprise entertainment we're going to do later. Don't tell them because the bride doesn't know, or I'm giving her this. So we have to things like that.
Yeah.
So then we'll do the walkthrough meeting like that. I'll go back then and, of course, do a proposal. We have to work things within budget. And then whatever works best for the budget, if I come in too high or too whatever. Then we get into actually just building it.
Can I stop for a moment, if
yes.
you don't mind, just to go back? Mm-hmm. So when you talk about getting into the process early, if you can, because there's this collaborative partnership between you and the event planner, the event designer.
Yes.
So will sometimes, as you're talking about this together, that you'll suggest something that will affect what they're doing with the decor and the furniture and
especially if it's something like, it's out in this big field and we want this type of lighting. It's like, okay, but we don't want to see structure. I don't want to see truss. I don't want it's not a concert. It's got to still look built out and, detailed. And so then I'll make suggestions like, give me something to rig off of. Can I get like an arbor? Can you build this out where I can hide lighting in it and light this thing, from structure? So we're not out there with truss towers and boom and bass, which most of my clients hate because they want it as architectural as possible.
Yeah.
And again, I keep throwing out Colin Cowie because he's just one of my dearest and most favorite, but we would do site inspections and it's collaborative. I mean, he's got a plan and it's like, okay, we're going to do this and here, but then we all walk through and we look at our surroundings and what we can do with this. And it's always just a creative, fun meeting because we have input like, okay, but we're here. What about the side of this building? It'd be so great, to do projection work up on this. Okay, what time does the event begin? What's the experience time? When do they start seeing this? When do they move over? It's like, okay, well, we're not going to do it during cocktails because that's daytime. But during dinner, they're over in this area. Let's take advantage of this. And look at these high buildings. I can light everything from the top of the buildings. You can do so much on ground plans. But to get there actually and go through with the designer and what can and what can't work.
How exciting.
To make it work. Like they say, I want 15 mirror balls over the dance floor. Great, no problem. Got to, let's build something. Or if I build this truss structure and put this, what can you make of it? Then the decorators come in, okay, I can clad this, dress this out, make it look kind of architectural, but I can give you the balls. And this becomes the dance party.
So I can see too, before you continue with the process, I can see too, obviously you're highlighting architecture, there's landscaping, there's all these other elements. When we think the party, it's not just that space.
The environment.
Yeah.
It's one thing I love about this business. I'm always in a new environment. And it's like, just get me there. Let me be in the space with you. Let me see what I'm seeing. Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's a field. But you get to the field and it's got these cool trees all the way around. It's like, it's like I can do this one, so that the whole space becomes the event space.
I'm also thinking when you are doing a wedding, I'm thinking to myself, there's the entrance, there's the moment people arrive. Where do they arrive? What is the feeling there? They go to the ceremony, maybe on the way to the ceremony. Then there's the ceremony, there's the cocktail hour, there's the reception, the dinner, the dancing. You've got all these multi-dimensional things going on the whole time, don't you?
Yes.
That are all threading together.
Oh, yes. Yes. Dear friend David Beam,
At least Colin's been on the show twice.
Okay.
David has been once. He's going to do it again.
Yeah. Okay, so I just did a real fun one with him this past year back east, and it was that experience going through from cocktails. You walk down this forest to it was basically a tent in a field, but the way that it was designed out was just amazing. But just even that walk became a moment because when I got there and we did our walkthrough with him, and then we're saying like, "Oh, this is the walkway, great trees." I said, "We're seeing all these trees lit through here, hiding the fixtures in the wood, so I don't even see where the lights come from." And then, we developed it all the way through. And then when you went into his tent, these trees continued in the tent in this fantastic structure. But, I wouldn't have known that unless I was there with him and experienced the walk as a guest would.
Interesting. What I'm also thinking like a fundraiser. I'm sure you're doing a ton of them, especially here in LA, and the emotional element. I think about too. Another part of this is that in the Lux market, you're dealing with people who have seen it all. People with money, they've seen it all. I know that, we all want to have something that's different, and it's the experience. It's not the price. It's the experience, what they go through. So a charity event, a fundraising gala, it's all about moving people to contribute.
Yeah.
So I imagine you're also thinking, is this some kind of a cancer gala? Is it, what is this about? How can when I'm doing the music for it, I always say to planners and designers, let me do more than just the dancing. Let me have a moment right before, if there's a live auction.
Right.
I want to bring them to tears so that they empty their pockets more. So
and you've got more control over that than I do.
Well,
in those moments, I just want them to look good. I want them to feel good. I can do. Through video support and music support, they can get the heartstrings going, And then when it gets to the auction, I need to make it bright enough to where they can see the paddles. I always have that cue. Oh, right. Okay, auction's over, paddles down.
Very important moment.
Yeah.
What about corporate events? Whether it's a product launch or you're helping to message a brand.
Yeah.
Right. And how does that work in terms of the choreography of motion, lighting to help support something like that?
Oh, absolutely. And I didn't do it personally, but there's 4 designers here. But Lonnie, one of our lead sales guys, just did Tesla in that same way. They just came out with the new car. I apologize, I didn't even go to his show, but there was a whole build on that on the car reveal. Throughout the years, I've done product when Lexus first came out in car clinics. We were featuring those, and it's very dramatic kind of lighting so that when the reviewers go in, they see these. It's not just a pretty car, but it's how it's lit.
Yeah.
And the shafts of light and a little bit of haze. And so these beams of light, focus down on these products and make them look
really
wow.
Pop. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Also, I want to come back just for a moment to weddings. You have done king's weddings in Dubai and Qatar, and right? And
yes.
I believe you did Palm Island in Dubai.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about a king's wedding in Dubai, that kind of an event?
Yeah, well, it was the apparent heir to throne.
Okay.
So he's the next in line. And it was at the Queen's second palace, the second Queen's palace.
Okay.
And so it was very interesting. We ended up shipping most of the equipment from the States because it was too close to New Year's there and getting the gear there, and it was for the king, so it didn't matter. So we had all kind of jets flying from London all over, especially all my gear from LA shipped out there.
Yeah.
We created our own power system because everything European is 220 volts. All of our stuff was 120 volt at the time. Yeah. So we had separate power systems that we set up. It was all exposed out on decks that were created. And we built giant towers because, again, on the backside of the Queen's Palace, and it's all very flat out there. So I needed positions to light from because did not want to do truss towers, pipe and base. So we built scaffold towers that went up like 40, 50 feet in places, and then sleeved them in black mesh to where, they just looked very architectural on the perimeter. But indeed, those were my lighting positions to light. We did video projection onto onto the palace itself. Yeah. But we also had stage lighting, many, many challenges about that. Everything had to be concealed because it was the women's party. Only the women partied there. The men don't attend each other's parties. It was a women's party. And The men, they go do their own celebration, but it's not a real big festivity. They ride camels. But on the women's party, so we could never be anywhere near it.
Oh, that's right. You yourselves, you mean?
Well, we had to be behind the scenes.
Wow.
We could never be out on the floor.
Wow.
You could never make eye contact.
Huh.
We could never be seen. So it was all done with monitors and cameras and videos behind the scenes, but all lit from the top and all projection through. It was extraordinary because to actually get in to see that lifestyle, I climbed on top of I had to be on top of the palace to do fixturing that shot down for the entertainment. Even the entertainment, which was men, could not see the women. So we had to devise a stage that was sheared, that was scrimmed to where only the women could see through, but the men could never see out.
Interesting.
So never eye contact.
Huh.
So it was a beautiful event, very challenging on the other side of the world.
Are you often running into cultural issues since you do work all over the world?
It was definitely cultural challenges. You get the protocol, you figure out how they work, what you can and can't do. And, and it worked out fine. On my crew, I had a girl that had a lot of tattoos.
Oh,
an issue. That was an issue because it got revealed. They threw her out. They threw her out.
Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of challenges I had.
My God. Now, on another side, coming back to this part, like Hollywood, you've done Governor's Ball, a lot of these, I'm sure, premieres and...
Lots of premieres. I've done, I think, 13 or 14 of the Governor's Ball for the Emmys. Hopefully I get it back again this year.
And that's with, I know Mark Held was on the show. He's doing all of the Governor Balls.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, Mark. We do a lot of stuff together. And Oscars I've done over the years. I do the Oscars Green Room every year. This year, Rolex and Architectural Digest for many years earlier, prior to then. It's the Green Room on stage, which is a real cool.
I was going to say, how does this feel for you that you get to be at these moments and be such a part of them?
I don't know. I'm used to it, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You have been doing this a long time.
I have a lot of credentials.
Yeah, right. Well, and film studios, right? Like New Line Cinema, DreamWorks, you're doing that
lots
too,
of premieres. Absolutely. And I love the studios. We do a lot of work there. Like HBO is one of our best clients we've just had for years, and we do all their premiere stuff. And Golden Globes, Emmys, they don't do anything for Oscars. But those are always really big fun parties that we do over the Pacific Design Center.
How are these kind of parties, these more celebrity-oriented parties, that kind of thing, different from everything else you do? Or do you not even look at it that way?
I don't. Usually on the premieres and corporate, the budgets are like, it's more business versus the social, and it's somebody's shopping budget. So the monies are different, because on my corporate stuff, my Charles Schwab, these are budgets that have been set up and you work within the budgets, versus the social, which is always like you come in with anything and then you're over budget, because they're always trying, so the dance of dollars is different between the two. Premieres are definitely a place where we can have more fun with color and texture.
Why is that?
Because we're usually branding something like from one of their shows, or we're creating, Grey Gardens, and we're taking pieces from the film and recreating. So versus, a wedding where they want it, quite often just pretty. Most of them are just pretty, and not even, a lot of them don't want movement at all. Whereas premieres is much more theatrical.
Did I read something about you doing the Super Bowl?
No.
No?
What have we done with Super Bowl? No. I hope to get it. Maybe a tailgate party. Oh, you know what? I have done the Governor's Ball for Super Bowl, not the halftime show. Yeah. But there's I've done a few of those actually. Through Wendy Creed Productions, and it's the Governor's Party, Governor's Ball, and it's big event that takes place like a couple nights prior to the game. Yeah. And it's a big party, big production, a lot of set pieces. I've done it down in San Diego and Jacksonville. And
when you're doing something brand new, Ray, that you've never done before.
I love that. Especially when it's a new facility, like, wow, I've never seen this. It's like, what can I do with this? Is
there anything that intimidates you at all about it? No? Or you just figure, I'll figure it out? Is that your approach?
Some things you can't, though. one of my guys has a project where they're doing this art installation in the middle of a lake where they're doing structural towers out of the lake. And it's a whole net thing that we've lit before for this artist. And it color shifts, it has patterns through it, and it's really beautiful, this whole thing. It has to run a month. It's in a rainy part of the country, and there's nowhere to put the lights.
Wow.
Well, if I put them on the truss towers, then everything, all the wires and cables and control and power has to run underwater. So that's a challenge we're working on right now.
That's what you're doing right now.
We're doing that right now.
What about, in a minute, I want to move on to a whole nother topic here, but what about concerts? Like, did you do something with Elton John?
I have done Elton John over the years, but we just like one of our weddings recently for a very high-end client, where Lady Gaga performs. And so I've had that, like the opportunity to work with like very high-end entertainers and do their shows. I mean,
really? They don't bring their own lighting designer. You're doing it.
And sometimes they'll come and run the board.
Yeah.
And sometimes we run it. But in working with we'll go through and set it all up, and because Lady Gaga is not the only thing performing on that stage, we run the show, and then her guy will come in and do their segment and then go away. We've had the opportunity to work with a real fun, name act entertainment.
Yeah, but to know it's her or somebody like that who's so theatrical gives you an opportunity, right, to go further with it.
Like Katy Perry and just like all kinds.
Yeah, she loves visual stuff.
Yeah, so much fun.
What about the business aspect of this? We were talking before I hit the record button about how you're always thinking about, well, where, in a sense, where's the profit in this? How do I monetize? Yeah. And then can you tell, that's a whole nother skill set. How did you come to be able to deal with that aspect? I mean, you're such an artist.
Yes.
How do you deal with the business side of it?
Doing it for 35 years and looking at P&Ls.
Yeah.
But I was not good at that at first. But I just learned over the years, especially on the side that I really like to pay attention to, which is the production side, the cost and loss, and what it takes to do the business in the back, what goes out, what costs in rentals, and and just really closing out the different jobs and looking at the profit and loss statements and see where I spent money, where I can make it tighter, make it tighter in the shop. Don't rent a truck, buy a truck, or how many times am I going to rent it before it makes sense to buy the truck? How many times is it, to rent a certain piece of equipment before I just need to buy it? And so I've been doing that and I love that part of it.
You do? You love that part of it?
I love that part of it. I love efficiency. I love efficiency within my crews as well to make sure it's labored. And we do. And one of the successes of our company is the fact that we get together every week as a team, and we sit down every Tuesday. Actually, that's the meeting I came out of to talk to you right now. Yeah, that I'll go back into for a couple more hours, and we talk about all the projects for the next month and every aspect of it. There's a production meeting form. What happens on each day with regards to that project, and so even though we'll have all the account managers there, but also office people that write the proposals to the shop manager, to the production manager, and we all sit on it and talk about it. Any questions on it, any special equipment that has to be arranged, or vehicle rentals, or that type of thing, so that by the time you get to actually doing the job, we've talked about it for a month. So we're all to speed with everything that this company is doing.
Well, and this is obvious, but you are very involved and aware of all aspects of it too.
Right.
And I like what you said earlier, that you are excited by it.
Oh, yeah.
I've mentioned this a few times on the show, because earlier we were talking about David Stark, and he talks about how, to him, creating business structure, and also interesting to choosing team members, all of that is a creative act.
Yeah.
So, and Brian Raffinelli, not trying to drop names here, but it really blew me away the first time I heard Brian say that, well, I enjoy the business as much as the creative.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Oh, yeah.
And it got me to, and then David's comment, it got me to start looking at it differently.
Right.
So did you ever have a mentor with all this, or did you figure out from just, running into problems and
just doing it,
get yourself out of it?
Just doing it. And just loving the process. But I love the process in the office, everything from sales, warehouse production to when it goes out
all
the door.
All of that you enjoy.
Then I'm on site with it, building it. When it gets back, the returns on it, reviewing losses, and all the way through. I love that whole part.
Well, that is so and interesting. What about the technology aspect? I'm thinking. You talked about earlier in the very beginning. All there were pin lights.
Yeah, pin spots.
Pin spots. And all that's been going on with technology and its role. I mean, you must be so excited by the constant technological advancement that's going on.
Absolutely.
How do you view that part of it?
And there's a lot of the intelligent lights out there, and that's a whole kind of a concert thing. And granted, we do use intelligent lights, and we see most of the growth in that arena. Some of that I can use when it comes down, if we're talking weddings. For sure, I can use it when I have Katy Perry on stage. But for weddings, the technology we're loving these days are just kind of the battery packed, and it's like LEDs now. But the color temperature on the LEDs has gotten so good. I can get a real good candlelight. I can get good skin tones. I can get great whites out of them, warm whites. Some of our favorite things are these magnetic. They're pin spots, and they can magnetize right to most ceiling parts. And then they're remote controlled, so I can adjust the brightness on, off, intensity, but you can also adjust the beams on it for flood, medium, or spot. And so the fact that we can just go and pop these things in the ceiling and not have any wires is ideal, and then shut them off remote control or adjust remote control. Same thing on uplights. You're going to see most companies are using it now. We use Freedom Pars a lot. But there's all kind of similar type products. But these are LEDs, and they're RGBA, red, blue, green, amber. Some of them also have a white node and a UV node. But again, these things are remote control. You can talk to one of them, and it'll transmit to all the rest of them. So I can hit blue, and the whole room will shift blue by them talking to each other. And these things last, hours. So, we just come in their battery, charge them overnight, come out, just set them out, bam, take them up. And it saves on power, cabling. They're super neat because I don't have wires and cube taps and cables to hide. And then, we just put a nice shield on it and conceal the instrument.
I read somewhere too that you said we create worlds within events with video screens and walls, LED screens, video projection, and mapping. I mean, wow, has this opened things up for you?
Oh, yeah. And it used to be, years back, it was just panties. Panties were very large scale, like slide projectors. And we used to do giant scenery with those back in the day. And that was, probably 15 years ago. But it's developed into video projection and now LED walls that are so much more, affordable.
Yeah.
Because everybody's buying into them. They're made cheaper. It's a better resolution on them. Yeah, we've done some beautiful stuff with that, worlds where you go in and the walls are video, the floors are video now, and you can create whatever story you want to do. You can be like walking in the rapids of the river and all of a sudden it turns on fire.
Wow. Incredible.
One of our guys right now is working on, I think he just finished the project, one of those geodomes where it was all cross projected. It was all nebulous and stars and then the clouds swirling past. And so you're in this world, but it's basically a white dome, a video screen, but all projected onto.
I imagine you must be a beta tester. Or you should be.
I should be.
Well, where do you think it's going? Do you have any thoughts about that? What's coming next?
That's so funny. People always ask me this. And, I'm just in the throes of it right now.
So you got enough going on to think about it.
Yeah, I think that, just like what LEDs have done with LED screens, they're going to get cheaper and cheaper, where we can, instead of walls to a tent, the entire thing.
And less power, right?
Well, it's still a little bit when you get into walls, you got power, but besides that, I'm talking about video walls, where the entire environment is created through, graphics and design that's then projected on the screens.
Yeah. Just a few more questions. I want to ask, what are some ways that industry professionals can work better with lighting designers?
I mentioned this earlier, and get us involved early on. Just what can and can't work before you tell your client or before you sell it. Just make sure it's feasible, both logistically and, financially. We want this to happen out here. Okay, but we need this, this, and this. That and share whatever kind of decks, creative sheets. Don't just hand us a floor plan. I can do it from there, but it really makes the difference if I knew this type of flower work or this had pullbacks and the color was in this and just more specifics.
I'm surprised you don't get that in general.
I get that a lot.
But there's still times
But
when
I'm
you
just
don't.
saying, when I get that, it helps a lot. And
Got it.
So I'm not showing up on site and going like, wow, you never told me about this. I would have brought this.
Yeah. And what about just for people in general, how can they use lighting and available technology to do some aspect on their own?
And we're talking like small caterer coming up, that type of thing. Those two items I mentioned, those focusable battery-packed pin spots and those battery-packed uplights.
Yeah.
I would jump right in there and buy some of those. Just buy yourself like 20. And they're the ones I'm talking about for the perimeter. Those are Freedom Pars by Chauvet. And then the pin spots that I'm talking about are made by Fuel, Fuel. And they're awesome, because it's no wires. It's just recharge. It's really a no-brainer. And the impact is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Also, I know everyone asks people, how do you get your inspiration and all of that? I mean, I know it's everything around you, but do you have anything in particular you do just to unplug, get away, clean out your mind and leave it open to get these, epiphanies and all of that? Concerts do it for me. I get in there and I am so moved by other lighting designers' work, but also I see the new technology in a new or a different way, like, oh, I can use that, but I just get excited about it. It's like, oh, I want to do that. And even though I'm not in an arena, but I can take aspects of it, even how they play video or fly-in video with lighting and movements. I get very inspired there. I also get inspired by the very creative producers that I work for, that they'll come in and say, I had this vision, like, let's develop this. I want this. And I've got ones that just push me to the limit, but it pushes me to like, okay, I can do that. And I have this space to do it in. It's like, all right. And what are just one or two of your favorite concerts or that you've seen lately that just blew you away with the lighting?
Pink was very fun. Muse, I love the lighting on Muse. Katy Perry.
It's interesting to me. I saw Ed Sheeran about a year and a half ago, but I'm thinking to myself going into it, it's because the way he performs, it's one guy by himself.
I know.
Right? And his songs, his performance is, quite passionate and emotional, electric, but still it's one guy in a massive, arena or whatever, right? 15,000 people.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? So, and when I went, I wish I could explain to you. I have no idea how to explain. I don't know the terms, but the video screens behind him and the lighting, I thought, okay, this is new. It has to be new. I was blown away. And the way, like you talk about working along with the party and the arc of emotion and all of that. Yeah. Obviously, sure, lighting designing with a concert, but the detail in terms of each song and the verse, the chorus, the message, and what they did.
All to time code.
But I hadn't seen that much detail ever.
I love it.
Yeah, it was really stunning. So, very last question. You have done so many things in your career. What's left for you to accomplish? What still gets you out of bed? Is it the same thing for 30 years?
Yeah, it's really weird. People, especially people my age, like they're getting ready to retire. I'm not. I love this team. I love getting out. I like climbing ladders. It's like that gets my mind off of everything. When I'm in a show and up there, and I love hanging fixtures, let my boys come behind me and they'll power up everything. But I love hanging. I love those positions and I love focusing. And I like to seeing my client's face when we do light check or getting there with them and making that happen and like getting it dialed into exactly what they were looking for. Then I like coming back and like reviewing what we've done, how the team's doing here, and then just starting all over. And it's like, I'm back out tomorrow.
That's wonderful. And finally, the way to find out more about your company and what you're doing, I know it's imagesbylighting.com. For social media, my understanding, Instagram. I'm doing this in case you're not sure yourself, right? So Instagram, images_lighting. I know Facebook is Images by Lighting. And we'll have it all in the show notes too. So you know what? Don't worry about that
thank
stuff.
You.
Well, Ray, thank you, man. This has been such a blast. I learned a lot today. So thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So thank you for listening to my conversation with Ray Thompson. Wasn't that incredible? If you enjoyed it, please share it with your colleagues and friends. I know that everyone's going to get something out of this. And be sure to check out the website of Ray and Images by Lighting, and it is imagesbylighting.com. Again, imagesbylighting.com. For social media, you can find him on Instagram at images_lighting. Again, images_lighting. And in Facebook, it's just Images by Lighting. And of course, as usual, all of this is in the show notes at our website of theweddingbiz.com, or scroll down on your cell phone podcast app. And again, really, if you could share this with people in the industry and your friends, would really appreciate it. It helps people find us. And be sure to tune back in on Wednesday to The Next Level, in which my guest co-host Zach Oxman and I, a brilliant artist, we're going to together talk about Ray's interview. So be sure to check in on Wednesday, and we will catch you next week. And don't forget our sponsor of the day, Kushner Entertainment. Go to KushnerEntertainment.com, and we'll catch you next week on The Wedding Biz.